Welcome everyone. In this video, I will show you how to analyze a portfolio made up of multiple expert advisors. If you like what I do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. The first step we need to take is to import all the reports from our expert advisors into Quant Analyzer. In this case, you don't need the paid version. The free version is also fine for what we need to do. So from MetaTrader, we run all our tests for the various experts and save them all in HTML format in a single folder, so it will be quicker to import them. Then we go to Load Report, and in my case, I can select them all at once. And I see, okay, at this point, I will click Continue for each one by one. We'll stop here because it's not necessary to load all of them just to understand how it works. And we can see that in our program, all the various reports have been imported up to the point where we stopped. In this case, we already have 2, 4, 6 reports. At this point, we have two options. One is to go ahead and directly create the portfolio for our experts. So in this case, let's do that. Create portfolio, and the portfolio will be created. By doing this, we go on to select the portfolio. In the settings, for example, I had initially set everything to 10,000, so I need to reset it to 10,000 euros to ensure the statistics are fairly accurate. Then we go to the list of trades. This part of our program is the most useful for us because here we have the complete list of all trades. From here, it's possible to export a CSV file. By doing this, we will directly export the CSV of our portfolio, so all the trades will be in chronological order because they are arranged chronologically and across the various symbols. The only problem is that by doing it this way, we don't have any indication of the strategy, so we only have the list of trades. Thank you. However, without knowing which strategy generated them. In my case, this wasn't enough because I wanted to indicate for each trade which expert had opened it, so that, if needed, I could understand what each expert had done, meaning which one went into drawdown, which one was performing well, and how things combined together. To do this in this way, so in a bit more in-depth manner, what we need is to go directly to the strategies. Thank you. Select one at a time, and then we have the report for each individual strategy. For example, the first one is the one on Eurodollar. At this point, I export the CSV file with all the trades from this strategy and save it. When we've done this for all the experts we have in our portfolio, we'll have a list of all the trades from all the experts with each expert's trades in their own CSV file. So as I mentioned earlier, I created a first folder where I saved all the tests from MetaTrader in HTML format. These are my tests, which I then imported into Quant Analyzer. From there, I was able to export the CSV files, which are all of these, one for each expert. If we open these CSV files, we see that inside we have all the data, but it's not formatted in an optimal way for use in Excel because everything is saved within a single row. The only positive thing is that all the data is separated by a comma, and this will allow us to import them into Excel. The next step is to import all the data from the CSV files into an Excel file. To do this, we go to Data from Text and select the first CSV in our folder where we have all the CSV files. At this point, we leave the first screen as it is. We don't change anything. We move forward, and here, instead of selecting tabulation, we choose comma so that all the columns are created just as they appeared visually in the program, just like in Quant Analyzer. Let's continue. For now, we don't change anything, and we click Finish. We insert the first one into the table in cell A1 and click OK. And here we have imported all our data for the first strategy. For simplicity, I create an Excel sheet for each strategy. So here, for the second one, I'll do the same thing. I go to Data from Text, select the second CSV, and import it. So, once I've imported all the CSV files, I'll end up more or less in this situation, where I'll have a different strategy on each sheet. What do I do next? The first thing I do is, at the end of all the data columns created by the program, I add a column indicating the strategy I used. This way, when I merge everything later, I'll know that this trade was made by this specific strategy, which I named myself. Here we can see all the data we've exported from the program. We have the ticket, which is basically useless to us, the symbol, whether it's a sell or a buy, the opening time, the opening price, the size, the closing time, the closing price, profit loss, and commodity profit loss. And then the most important column for calculating equity is the one showing the loss or profit as a percentage. This will be a fundamental piece of data for us to move forward with the calculations we need. Once we have all the strategies, the next step is to copy all this data into a single sheet, which I've called complete. In this sheet, as you can see, I have pasted all the data here and then thank you. I sorted everything based on the closing time so that I have my entire history organized every time I close a trade. Moving forward here, we can see that with our strategy column, we've managed to define which strategy was used for each trade. So even as we scroll down, we have the complete list of our trades with the various strategies, and we know what happened and how much was earned. In this way, we've managed to obtain a file where we have every single operation that was carried out on our account. Then in my case, I went on to separate the data from a certain date onwards, because I knew that from that point they were no longer tests, but out of sample data, meaning in conditions where I was no longer optimizing. I kept this in mind for all the subsequent calculations. In the next video, I'll explain how we can use this mountain of data we have, because in my case, we have about 4 years and 10 months of data covering all the strategies, so our entire portfolio. We will look at how this portfolio performed as a whole, with all the strategies working together simultaneously. Because in Quant Analyzer, the only data we can get is the sum of all the strategies. But you know well that if the strategies work together, it will never just be a simple sum, it will be a compounded effect, because each one will work on the losses and gains of the other strategies. This is the only way I found to be able to make this kind of calculation. If you like this video and want to see how to do statistical calculations on this entire database we've created, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and leave a like.